Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Chun joining you for this edition of Nate at 8. And coming up for this edition of Nate at 8, we're going to be discussing a couple things. Number one, of course, the rain chances. That's going to be the big story as we go through the weekend. These daily rain chances just continue, although I will say likely ending up mostly dry going into Friday as well as Saturday before those rain chances pick up on Sunday. And unfortunately, during this stretch, anything that does develop, we have to closely monitor that potential for severe weather and flooding does exist. Not to say that either is going to be more of a widespread or high risk, but there's nonetheless the potential is there. So we still have to keep a close eye on what does develop. Although any severe thunderstorms and flooding looks to stay more isolated going into the weekend if we do see it come to fruition. But again, nonetheless, still going to be watching for it from anything that does develop as we go throughout these afternoon and evenings, and also going to be touching on why we did not spot much rain at all for today. Why, right? So we're going to be discussing that as well, as I know there was a good odds for some showers and thunderstorms to develop this afternoon, evening, but we did have one condition set up that was the big, really that threw things for a loop and really hindered the development of showers and thunderstorms today. So without further ado, let's jump into things, shall we? And starting off with our current temperatures across the area, well, they're falling back into the 70s, coming off of highs that were fairly seasonable today. Well, they were into the mid lower 80s. That's pretty much on par with where average highs are for this time of the year. And then for this morning, starting off, well, mild, muggy. And that's been the story for what has been almost 3 weeks now. Again, we've been accustomed to these mild and more muggy mornings. These lows have been in the 60s for a long stretch. And here's the kicker. There is no end here in sight, at least going through the next week, as these low temperatures have been 60 plus. You notice the coolest low we've had over the past couple of weeks, 63. That was on the 4th, and that's where we're at least getting back to more of a cool, comfortable morning. But again, we've just had a string here of lows into the 60s and even some 70s. And yes, the next 5 mornings, it is the same story. These low temperatures going into the middle next week, still likely going to be maintained into the 60s. The coolest that we have going into the following weekend, that's where we could start to spot lows, at least getting back closer to 60. There is a chance, if it starts to trend a bit cooler, that we could dip into the 50s, but it's not forecasted to at this point. And the good odds that, again, a lot, if not all of the next 10 days, these lows are still into the 60s. So at least here over the next week. But again, there's a good chance that even over the next 10 days, we could still add to this long stretch, which has been now 20 days in a row. And we are rivaling what we had in 2023 at 22. And again, we're easily rivaling here over the next week as we maintain these lows 60 plus what we had in 2022. And it's possible if we go through the following weekend that we're still dealing with lows above 60, which again, right now forecasted to do so, even though we will get back closer to 60. If we do maintain that, then we are likely rivaling and even possibly surpassing what we had in 2016 with 31 straight days, whole month straight of lows 60 plus. We could very well get it. We could very well get that. We could be talking about the longest stretch here of these mild and muggy mornings that we've had in a decade. I think it is quite possible for us looking ahead for that forecast. And again, here over the next week, no chance at all going in towards that 9th, 10th day out, maybe going into the following weekend. We may dip into the 50s, at least getting back lower 60s. But, as it stands now for the next 7 days, I don't foresee it. So, we're at least tying what we had in 2022. And this could very well, we could even surpass it at 28. So, this could still be the longest stretch that we've had in almost a decade here into the Ohio Valley. Just puts into perspective, really, what's been a main contributor to this, the humidity. So it just puts into perspective of that we have not dealt with this long of these uncomfortable to unbearable humidity levels in quite some time. That's been a big factor into keeping these overnight lows 60 plus here as of recent. Now, for this evening, as you can see, we're not dealing with much in terms of precipitation. We still, just like what we're seeing right now, what we saw earlier between 5 and 6 into portions of Wetzel County, and we are now seeing it into portions of Carroll and Columbiana County. that potential still there for a stray shower. We could still see one here throughout this evening and continuing early tonight. By the time we get, lead up closer towards midnight, then anything that's lingering is tapering off completely. So maybe something stray continuing here early tonight, and then we're drying up across the area going into tomorrow morning. That being said, not anticipating anything that's going to be impactful in terms of any severe weather or any localized flooding, not anticipated to occur from any stray shower that we do see happen to develop into our area here early on tonight. So the question is, because again, we had good odds for these showers and thunderstorms today. So of course the question is, why, right? What happened? What happened? Why did we not spot more showers and thunderstorms in the region today and what has been largely dry conditions? And the main culprit here is what we call cap. Our atmosphere was capped. And you can see this in play with some showers that we've even had over us for today. Look at this cell moving from Carroll into Columbiana County. So notice what's happening. So we're seeing the cell start to develop there east of Augusta. And as it starts to gain more strength, the higher reflectivity, right, starting to build higher in the atmosphere, notice what happens between a few radar scans. Starts to develop and now starting to dissipate. So anytime you see this on radar, it's always a good indication the atmosphere is capped, that we're starting to see these showers develop. They're starting to mature to the point, they're starting to get closer as they're gaining more steam to become even a thunderstorm. And, if that course then continues, a thunderstorm then can start to mature to become a severe thunderstorm, right? You can continue that cycle as these storms continue to build higher and higher to the atmosphere. But what's happening is these showers developing cannot continue to build higher and higher in the atmosphere. They are reaching a lid. Think of it as putting a lid over a pot of boiling water, right? Obviously, it'd be secure, right? Not going to pop off from the steam, but a secured lid that can't pop off, and you stick it over a pot of boiling water. What happens? The steam can't rise, right? The steam's not rising out of that pot. If the lid was off, of course, we've got the steam rising off the pot, right? And a pot of boiling water. Well, think of it the same way. And when we have a cap in the atmosphere, it's much like putting a lid on a pot of boiling water, and that steam cannot continue to rise, and the air cannot continue to rise. That is what we mean when the atmosphere is capped, and we did see that today. And the culprit is that layer of warm air aloft. That's what's causing this lid on a pot of boiling water, right, in the atmosphere. It's a layer of warm air aloft. So, on these warm summer days, the warm air near the surface is naturally buoyant. So it starts to form warm updrafts. And as that warm air continues to rise, it's naturally buoyant. So it just continues to rise and rise and rise further into the atmosphere because temperatures are cooling with height. So that warmer air is running into cooler and cooler temperatures as it continues to climb, and it's maintaining just naturally buoyant, right? It's just like that steam in the pot of boiling water is continuing to rise and rise and rise indefinitely. But what is ultimately then what it's running into is a layer of warm air aloft. So no longer are temperatures cooling with height, they begin to warm with height. And that's what happens is we start to see these showers develop and they're starting to build up. But what happens then is that they start to build up and mature. Then they run into that lid, right? And then they can no longer continue to build up. So they can't continue to build up to the point of becoming heavier shower or even a thunderstorm. And that really then stifles those showers from continuing to mature. And, sometimes depending on where this layer of warm air is, you can see that we could see thunderstorms even develop, but as those thunderstorms then continue to try to build upwards, you can run into a layer of warm air that's a little higher in the atmosphere, and that can also then stifle those thunderstorms from becoming severe. So we've noticed that as well, where we've noticed that a cap has hindered severe thunderstorms, but allowed thunderstorms. And just like for today, well, it was low enough in the atmosphere that's just hindered a lot of even showers, but especially any thunderstorms from developing in the area. And this is what we mean anytime we're saying that the atmosphere is capped. What that is, again, you could think of it much like putting a lid over a pot of boiling water. It's a similar concept. Of course, we're talking about the atmosphere, and that's the big reason why we did not see those showers and thunderstorms come to fruition today. Let's catch up on some comments before we move on forward here with this edition of Nate at 8. Good evening there, Austin. Today was a miserable day, foggy this morning. I thought I was seeing smoke since I could see it, but I think it was the humidity that was doing it. And yeah, we had that potential again going into tomorrow morning as well, just dealing with some potential for some more areas of fog going into tomorrow morning. Good evening there, Lola, over the humidity. And yes, I agree, Lola. It's been a rough patch. And again, unfortunately, there is not much relief in sight. A little bit lowering, I think, into next weekend, but this weekend through much of next week, no, unfortunately not. It is just going to be still an uncomfortable to unbearable. That's our range from those humidity levels. Good evening, Renee. Humidity is horrible, terrible. I know it's been rough. Good evening there, Joe. Hope your day went well. Thank you, Joe. It did. Hope yours went well as well. I hope everyone's day went well. And thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Nate at 8. So while we don't have to track much rain tonight, what can we track? Well, how about a full moon? Yes, the full buck moon is occurring tonight. We'll watch for that moon rising at about 9:20, and then it'll set to at a little after that 6 a.m. mark tomorrow morning. So we'll notice this again. Watch for it rising at about 9:20, a little before that. Here early on tonight, and it's a full buck moon. Of course, we know it gets its name from bucks, right, beginning to grow their new set of antlers, and full buck moon tonight. So it's something we can watch for. Again, not tracking much, if any, precipitation in the area, but we're at least tracking that full buck moon occurring tonight. Again, watch for the moon rise, which will occur right around 9:19, 9:20 or so, roughly, here early on tonight when that moon will rise. Staying with us then all night into early tomorrow morning. And again, the other thing to watch for by tomorrow morning would just be that potential then for some areas of fog developing going into Friday morning's commute. So some patchy fog later tonight, a full moon here overnight as well. Those are the two things to watch for, more so than dealing with any showers as we do extend over the course of tonight. And we'll likely maintain some dry conditions going into tomorrow morning. And then we have that potential, just like we had again for today and for the past several days, just dealing with the daily rain chance here of a shower and thunderstorm. And I don't think it's a great chance here over the next couple of days. Anything we do see develop is likely much more hit or miss, but just like what Futurecast is showing, yes, we could spot that shower and thunderstorm developing in the area tomorrow afternoon and evening. That chance then does look to subside for Friday night into Saturday morning, and then it'll pick up, although again, not a great chance, something more isolated, possible going into Saturday afternoon and evening. And then Saturday night, rain chances do look to stay low, although we can't quite rule it out entirely. I think, a more stray or isolated shower thunderstorm is possible overnight Saturday into Sunday morning. And we could spot a few showers and thunderstorms in place for the first half of Sunday, but the greater chance is going to arrive in the afternoon. And this is when scattered showers and thunderstorms are looking likely for Sunday afternoon and evening. So at this point, again, good chance. So we'll deal with those showers and thunderstorms, and good chances to be the greatest coverage of rain that we're going to have over the next 3 days through the weekend will occur Sunday into the afternoon and evening. And we'll notice those showers and thunderstorms. Some can carry over Sunday night, and then maybe a few lingering showers and a thunderstorm into Monday as well. Something, can linger going into the daytime on Monday. But a lot of what we're going to see fall here near term with rain is likely the second half of Sunday, and some of those showers and thunderstorms can persist going into Monday as well. So the rain chances the next 5 days look roughly like this. So, not great odds Friday, Saturday, or Monday, but we can spot a shower and thunderstorm all 3 of those days. Again, Monday, it's possible to see morning and afternoon, but Friday, Saturday is more into the afternoon and evening. Again, Sunday, we can have a few in the morning, but the emphasis Sunday, where it's more likely, is still into the afternoon and evening hours. Rain chances then look to further lower going into the middle of next week, but likely by next Thursday, we'll pick back up. I think outside of Sunday, next Thursday could be then the second day looking ahead where those showers and thunderstorms look a bit more widespread. And that's with a cold front passage. And then once we get behind that going into the weekend, that following weekend. Remember, that's when we mentioned we can see that further drop in humidity. And that would be then thanks to that cold front passage we get Thursday into Friday. We could have some showers and thunderstorms linger into Friday, but that would be then that time period next Thursday into Friday when we could deal with more widespread showers and thunderstorms. So I think those are really the 2 days to watch for more widespread coverage. Outside of that, it is more hit or miss. But again, it's possible Friday, Saturday, as well as into Monday here near term to deal with that shower and thunderstorm. Nothing to alter plans over Friday, Saturday, or into Monday. Just something to be aware of. If you download the Severe Weather Team 9 mobile app and put in your location, it can give you a heads up when rain is heading your way, give you a heads up if lightning's detected near you. Of course, you can always check up on the latest radar scan, right? And track where any of those showers and thunderstorms are developing if they're heading your way. It's just a situation where to keep an eye on changing weather conditions in the afternoon, evening hours on Friday and Saturday, but certainly nothing to cancel plans over. Because again, overall, it's still looking mostly dry over the next couple of days before it is turning more wet on Sunday, especially into the afternoon and evening. That's the time period to more so expect those showers and thunderstorms in the region is into the second half of Sunday. So as we jump into your 9+1 day forecast, a couple more comments for this evening. Lola saying, thanks for breaking down, Nathan. Always appreciate your knowledge. Thank you, Lola. I appreciate that. Thanks. I appreciate that. That's very kind. And Ian saying, what does the flood risk look like for Sunday for Northeast Belmont County? And as we do look ahead over the next 3 days, this is not what appears to be a widespread impact event coming our way over the next 3 days. But that being said, what we do see develop, if we do spot that shower, that thunderstorm developing in the area on Friday and Saturday, even though coverage does not look great, anything that does develop, we have to closely monitor. That potential is there still for a strong to severe thunderstorm. Damaging winds will be the primary concern and localized flooding. So while the coverage may not be great, those areas that do happen to see a thunderstorm, we do have to watch. And it's unfortunately impossible to really pinpoint a specific location of where that can occur. So I would still watch Northeast Belmont County and across the area. Wherever you're tuning in from, is unfortunately that potential is there, right? It just depends where exactly we're spotting that thunderstorm developing. But it is much more hit or miss. But those locations that are on the hit side of that, into Friday and Saturday, which again is likely not many, but those few that could be on that side of dealing with that thunderstorm, that potential is there for localized flooding. And again, if we happen to see that thunderstorm mature to become severe, damaging winds would be the primary concern. So that's what to watch for. And I think that even translates going into Sunday as well, as damaging winds would likely remain the primary concern. And yes, as coverage will pick up in the rain, it's a little higher risk for, dealing with more impacts of strong to severe thunderstorms. And in addition to dealing with the flooding concerns. And, one thing to note about Sunday, I will say though, if we are dealing with more cloud cover and if we do manage to muster some showers into the morning, that can stifle that potential for severe weather into the latter part of Sunday. So that may be the saving grace when it comes to the severe threat on Sunday, is if we do happen to see some showers in the morning and more cloud cover throughout the day and not much sun. That can keep that that can keep that severe risk lower on Sunday. If we do see that come to fruition, I do think that's a possibility, but that doesn't eliminate the flooding concern. So I do think that's the one thing that we'll have to watch for anything that develops over the next 3 days, and including into Sunday. Again, I don't think Sunday is a widespread flooding event, but localized, yes, it is possible. And we'll have to just monitor where we're seeing any thunderstorms. If they're continuously moving over the same location, that's going to be more of the flooding concern on Sunday, more so that than what we saw for yesterday, where those showers, the heavy shower developed and essentially just lingered over the same location. By Sunday, we're likely going to have more movement to those showers and thunderstorms. It's just a matter of if we're dealing with, rounds of that heavy rain over the same location, that training effect that we talk about of thunderstorms is more so what to watch for likely on Sunday. So that's what to watch for again the next 3 days, and even into Monday as well. I think really in general, we are into that type of pattern where we just have to watch while, it's not a high risk on a daily basis to deal with impacts. It's just something we do have to keep in mind and keep an eye on anything that develops for the potential for that thunderstorm to become strong to severe, in addition to possibly producing some localized flooding. And these torrential downpours that we saw for yesterday, they're not going anywhere. We've got a lot of moisture present in our atmosphere. We're dealing with, just some uncomfortable to unbearably humid conditions. We can feel it, right? There's a lot of moisture for these showers and thunderstorms to tap into. So even within showers like what we saw yesterday, these showers still likely produce heavy downpours, and then thunderstorms, it's just torrential downpours. So still going to be watching for that. So certainly as that continues, that potential for localized flooding unfortunately does as well. Then notice again, like we discussed, that next Thursday, notice the chance of rain picking back up. So it does look like this coming Sunday and then next Thursday. The timing may have to be adjusted a bit. It's still a little ways out, Thursday into next Friday. Maybe the timing gets bumped back more into Friday, but that Thursday into Friday, right around that time frame, that would be then the following round with showers and thunderstorms looking more likely. So it's really that two time period there against this Sunday into Sunday night, and then again around next Thursday into Friday. That's when those showers and thunderstorms are looking more likely during those two time periods. Outside of that, maybe something more isolated, but it's an overall lower risk Friday, Saturday, Monday, even a very low risk likely next Tuesday into Wednesday, and then before it picks up Thursday into Friday. So as you could see, there's still thankfully, not a high rain risk every day, but it is one of those unfortunate. That being said, it's unfortunate that if anything does happen to develop, we have to still closely monitor anything that does develop for that potential to become either a strong severe thunderstorm, producing some high winds, or producing some localized flooding concerns. So definitely good to keep weather aware during this stretch. Again, nothing to cancel plans over Friday into Saturday, but just keep in mind, watch for changing weather conditions, right? The emphasis in the afternoon and evening. Download Severe Weather Team 9 mobile app. Good way to get that warning. In addition to that, it'll give you a heads up if rain's heading your way or if lightning is detected near you. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into this edition of Nate at 8. I appreciate it as always. I hope everyone had a wonderful day. Hopefully everyone staying cool during this warm, muggy stretch of weather. And again, the next couple of days looking pleasant, but certainly very warm and humid. No doubt about it going into the weekend. And we'll track what does happen to develop here over the next couple of days, or I should say really tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. So our Friday edition of Nate at 8. Then I'll join you again on Monday. So we'll be tracking anything that does happen to develop tomorrow in the afternoon, evening, coming up for tomorrow News 9 Live at 5. We'll be join on in for News 9 Live at 5, going up to 6:30, tracking anything that develops in the afternoon, and I'll give you the latest on what remains into Friday evening for that next edition of Nate at 8. Again, until then, you can catch me coming up even tonight, News 9 at 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight at 11. I hope everyone has a wonderful night, and I'll see you tomorrow evening for that Friday evening edition of Nate at 8.